Welcome to Paid for Your Presence, powered by Soulful AI. I'm Erica Duran, business mentor, brand strategist, and creator of the Paid for Your Presence method. This isn't another Grow Your Following show. Each week, you'll get unfiltered strategy, grounded frameworks, and the kind of truth-telling most marketing podcasts avoid, so you can grow your brand without diluting your voice or burning out. Here we focus on elevating your expertise, refining your message, and designing a way of working that actually fits you, so business feels aligned again. Because you don't need a bigger stage, you need a stronger presence. Forget the rules, take a breath, tune in, and step into your authority. Never settle. Hustle doesn't scale. Performing your life isn't the same as living it. This episode is about the shifts that happen when performance stops working and presence takes over. Welcome back to the Paid for Your Presence podcast, powered by Soulful AI. I'm Erica Duran, and today we're going to layer deep into the comeback story. If you listened to episode 1, you already know the backstory, why I stepped away, how the travel agency took center stage, the false starts that didn't quite stick. Episode 1 was about what happened, but this one's about what changed. Because it's one thing to leave an old season, it's another thing entirely to come back different, clearer, lighter, and more grounded in who you are as a leader. These are the shifts that reshaped how I create, how I lead, and how I serve. And they're not just my shifts, they're universal. If you're rebuilding after a break, reinventing your brand, or realizing the way you've been doing business doesn't feel sustainable anymore, these will meet you right where you are. The truth is, the old rules of online business don't work anymore. Hustle doesn't scale. Performing your life isn't the same as living it. And chasing deadlines that don't matter only pulls you further from the work that does. So today we're breaking that pattern. We're walking through the 8 lessons that will help you build your presence, not just a business. A presence that positions you, sustains you, and actually feels good to live inside. From rushing to respecting the work. When I look back on the early days of my comeback, one of the hardest lessons was about rushing, especially rushing things that deserve respect. The clearest example, that false start website. I can still see it, me at my desk, laptop open, staring out at the lake outside my window thinking, why am I even doing all this? It didn't feel right. The timing was off. My travel agency was thriving, bringing in solid money. There was no real reason to, well, I hate the phrase, but beat a dead horse. But I kept going, checking boxes because that's what we're taught to do. I'd convinced myself that a new logo, a new color palette, a new platform would equal new business. If I just changed the outer layer, surely everything inside would shift too. The finished site looked completely different from anything I'd ever done. Sapphire blues, brushed golds, an orchid accent. I swapped my signature luxury fonts for one that looked like stick figure handwriting called Shadows into the Light. It was a total 180 from my usual tropical vibe. And when it was done, I thought, well, that's fresh, that's fast. But when I hit publish, it didn't feel like evolution. It felt hollow, like putting on a costume for a character I didn't even know. No one criticized it because no one saw it. I never sent traffic there. I never linked it. If someone asked for my site, I'd point them to Instagram instead. I had website shame and I knew it. Here's what I tell clients now. A fast launch can be powerful, but only if it's done with intention. Simple doesn't mean sloppy. A single page site can command serious presence if it's clear and clean. Who you are, what you do, who you serve, and exactly how to work with you. But rushed energy leaks through every pixel. When you throw something together just to get it done, you're not just cutting corners, you're cutting confidence. I've seen this play out with so many clients, including one named Danielle. She wanted her new course and website live before the new year to catch the New Year, New Me crowd. She pulled late nights, skipped family dinners, and checked all the boxes. And when it launched, crickets. No engagement, no signups, just silence. When we debriefed, she admitted she didn't even want people to see it. She said, "It's fine, it's up, it's done." And I asked her, and I'd ask you too, but what does that matter if it doesn't sell? What does it matter if it doesn't help your client solve a high cost problem, time, money, energy, or all the above? What does it matter if it looks complete but leaves people confused, disappointed, or asking for refunds? We stripped her entire site down to one clear, intentional page. It told her story, her offer, and how to work with her, nothing else. She relaunched, and that single page brought in more clients than the rushed 5 page site ever did. That's the difference between a website you're proud to send people to and one you secretly hope they never find. Rushed work drains your confidence, respected work builds it. You can feel the difference, and so can everyone else, from living the brand to living your life. For years, my business model was built on the idea that my life was my content. Every trip, every resort, every detail of my day became something to capture and share. And on the surface, it looked incredible, a nonstop luxury lifestyle. But the truth, so much of that life I was documenting, I wasn't actually living. There was one trip that stands out. I was living at the Kanapali Beach Hotel on Maui, and one of my podcast sponsors at the time. My best friend was flying in. We hadn't seen each other in years, and she only had 3 days on the island, and that time should have been sacred. But instead of just being with her, I spent half the day at the salon getting camera ready, hair, nails, because I thought that's what my audience expected to see. Then I spent hours filming the perfect clips, the ocean behind me, the breakfast tray, the balcony shot. Meanwhile, she was standing barefoot in the sand, laughing, soaking up the sunset, and I was worried about camera angles. By the end of the trip, I had plenty of content, but not many real memories. We'd been in the same space, but I hadn't really been there with her. And it wasn't just Hawaii. There were plenty of those moments at Epcot's Flower and Garden Festival, too. Photos that looked magical online, while in reality, I was sweating through Florida humidity, dodging strollers, waiting in lines, and nibbling on overpriced festival bites that never tasted good as they are photographed. The images said freedom, the feeling said exhausted. That was my wake up call. Performing my life was diluting my presence. It's dangerously easy to confuse visibility with vitality, to make your life look extraordinary online while quietly feeling disconnected from it offline. Now, I still love photos and videos. I always have. Even as a kid, I carried a camera everywhere. But the difference now is purpose. If I share something, it's because it supports the work. It helps my clients see what's possible for them, not to prove that I'm living the dream. If you've ever felt trapped in that cycle where your personal life keeps turning into content, please hear this. Your life doesn't have to be your marketing plan. That your life is your brand model worked for a while. It's what we were all taught. But there are smarter, healthier models now, ones that don't require you to run a 24/7 reality show just to sell your expertise. One of my clients, Marissa, learned this the hard way. She was a life coach who documented everything: her meals, her workouts, her kids' soccer games. Her feed looked perfect, but she told me she felt like she was performing her life instead of living it. So we flipped her strategy. Instead of sharing personal updates, she began creating around her clients' transformations and her own frameworks for change. Within weeks, she said she felt lighter. She wasn't chasing relatable moments anymore. Her engagement actually increased because her content now spoke directly to what her clients wanted for themselves. That's the real shift. When you stop performing your life, you finally get to live it. And ironically, your brand becomes more powerful, not less. Visibility means nothing if you're invisible in your own life. Big brand clarity versus solopreneur confusion. When I started consulting again for companies like Disney, Viking Cruises, Globe Life, I remembered something that's easy to forget when you're a one woman show. Big brands don't get to procrastinate clarity. They have campaigns to launch, deadlines to hit, and payroll to meet. The marketing goes out whether anyone feels ready or not. There's no, let's wait until we're in alignment. The email drops at 10 a.m. because it has to. That kind of rhythm does something powerful. It forces progress. It keeps them shipping. Now contrast that with the solopreneur space. We love to complicate things. We hide behind our thesaurus and call it branding. Suddenly, every coach is empowering visionary women to live their next level authenticity while embodying alignment. And I'm over here thinking, does anyone even know what that means anymore? It's not that those words are bad, they've just been used so often they've lost their voltage. They blur instead of clarify. And when your message blurs, your brand disappears into the noise. The truth is, clarity is luxury. It's what makes a brand sound instantly confident. That's why Disney doesn't need to explain itself. You already know what it stands for before you step through the gate. Most solopreneurs don't have a messaging problem, they have a clarity problem. They're too close to their own genius to see it cleanly. They're spinning in content loops, wondering why nothing lands, when the answer is simple: the audience can't follow what isn't clear. When I work with clients, we strip away the jargon until their message passes what I call a fifth grader test. If a fifth grader can explain what you do, you're clear. If not, you're still hiding behind cleverness. And once that clarity clicks, everything starts compounding: content, sales, confidence, authority. Because the truth is, confusion repels, clarity commands, and command is what gets you paid. Slowing down to speed up. For a long time, I believed the faster I moved, the faster I'd succeed. If I could just check every box, a new site, a new course, a new funnel, then I'd finally feel caught up. Energy is strategy because the way you build something becomes part of what it communicates. If it's rushed, people feel that. If it's calm, clear, and confident, they feel that too. That's exactly how I approach Soulful AI. No racing the trend, no, I have to be first, just presence, testing, refining, letting it breathe. And when it launched, people could tell. They didn't just hear about it, they felt it. It landed deeper because it came from presence, not pressure. So here's the truth: rushing drains your confidence, respecting the work rebuilds it. And when you respect the work, it compounds faster than anything forced ever could. That's actually how you speed up, by slowing down long enough to build something that lasts. Once I slowed down enough to build with clarity, something else fell apart. The idea that consistency meant never stopping. Consistency without a scoreboard. When I stepped back from the online space, I had this moment where my brain went, wait, what if I lose momentum? That word momentum gets thrown around so much in business circles that we start to believe it's real, measurable thing. But it's not. It's made up. Momentum isn't built on how many days you've posted in a row. It's built on resonance, and resonance doesn't keep score. Of course, the thoughts still come up. What if people forget me? What if I lose traction? What if stepping away makes it harder to come back? But deep down, I knew those were just old marketing rules trying to stay relevant. Because people don't follow you because you posted every day for 5 years. They follow because something in your work speaks directly to where they are now. They buy because what's in front of them feels right, not because of what you did months ago. That's what I had to remind myself of, and honestly, it changed how I coach my clients too. Take Jenna. She's a mindset coach who used to post every single day. No breaks, no pause, no breath. And when she finally burned out, she stepped away for almost a year. When she came back, she was terrified she'd lost it all, her audience, her reach, her relevance. But she hadn't. She came back grounded, her energy was different, her voice carried conviction instead of exhaustion, and her audience noticed. Not one person said, where have you been? They just said, wow, you sound clear. Then there's Lisa. When we started working together, she told me she felt like she'd fallen behind. Everyone else seemed to be crushing it, and she felt like she was barely keeping up. She was posting because she thought she had to, not because she had anything real to say. We changed everything by reframing her year into content seasons. 6 weeks on, focused on one big idea, the rest refine and reset before the next. That rhythm changed her entire business. She wasn't spinning anymore, she was leading. By the end of the first season, she doubled her list, booked out her private coaching, and said something that stuck with me. It finally feels like I'm in charge of my business, not the algorithm. That's the shift. Consistency isn't about counting posts. It's about creating rhythm. It's about showing up when it matters and showing up fully when you do. So if you've been in that place of wondering whether it's too late to come back or worrying that you've lost your edge because you haven't posted in a while, hear me on this. There's no scoreboard. No one's out there with a clipboard keeping track of your feed. No one's measuring how long you were gone. Your people will find you when they're ready. And when you do show up, they'll care a lot more about your presence than your posting schedule. That's what consistency really means. It's not about being constant. It's about being commanding when you are present. No scoreboard, no rules, just rhythm, the kind that actually sustains you. All of these shifts point back to one thing: building a business that's led by presence, not performance. Originality versus depth. Let's talk about originality, or more accurately, what the internet thinks originality means right now. Because somewhere along the way, being first became more important than being good. Everyone's racing to be the first to post a hot take, the first to jump on a trend, the first to share the latest AI secret they barely understand. And what happens? Everything starts to sound the same. You can scroll for 2 minutes and find 10 people using the same headline, same hook, same Canva template. And they all think they're being innovative. Spoiler alert, they're not. And I say this with love. I can spot an AI generated post in about 2 seconds flat. The cadence, the tone, the fake inspiration. It's like nails on a chalkboard. That's actually why I push my own AI tools so hard, and why I make my AI assistants ask me so many questions before they write anything. because I don't want to sound like everyone else, and neither should you. The truth is, originality doesn't come from being first, it comes from going deep. Depth is what happens when you bring lived experience, conviction, and authority to your message. It's when you've actually done the thing, not just read about it, not just rephrased someone else's thought leadership post, but lived it. Because when your words come from depth, people can feel it. They stop scrolling, they lean in. Even if you're saying something they've technically heard before, it lands differently. That's how Soulful AI was born. I wasn't the first to talk about AI, far from it. I actually avoided it for years because the content I saw was painful. Cookie cutter captions, shallow how to prompt chat GPT reels, coaches using the same robotic phrasing like they'd all downloaded the same personality pack. No, thank you. I didn't want to compete in that sandbox. I wanted to build something that actually sounded like me, something that helped people sound like themselves. So I slowed down. I didn't rush to launch a course or call myself an AI expert. I tested, I played, I broke things, I rebuilt them. And the moment I finally shared Soulful AI, something clicked. People reached out saying, "This feels different. It sounds human." That's when I knew. Depth always outlasts novelty. I had another client learn this the hard way. She wanted to be first to market with a hybrid workplace program right after the pandemic. She pulled an all nighter, launched fast, hit published, and it flopped. Not because she wasn't smart, she's brilliant, but her content had no depth. It was rushed, surface level, forgettable. When we slowed down and rooted her message in her actual experience, the years she spent leading Fortune 500 teams through chaos and transitions, everything changed. Her next launch landed in half the time with twice the impact. Because depth doesn't compete, it commands. Bottom line, being first might get you a few likes, but being deep builds a legacy. Depth makes you uncopyable. It's the difference between, "Oh, I saw a post like that," and, "Oh, that's her voice. I'd know it anywhere." So the next time you feel that pressure to post fast, to jump on a trend before it fades, pause. Ask yourself, what's the layer beneath this? What's the truth I've actually earned the right to talk about? That's where your originality lives. Not in speed, in substance. Unhinged? Maybe. But classy? Always. Depth doesn't change how your work sounds. It changes how the market experiences you. Expert versus category of one. Here's the truth about being a quote expert. It just means you know more than the average person scrolling the feed. And while that's a start, it's not the finish line because experts are everywhere. Experts are replaceable. Experts compete. A category of one doesn't. A category of one has presence, the kind that doesn't have to shout to prove or follow trends. It's the energy that makes people stop mid scroll and think, "Oh, that's her." When I finally realized this difference, it was both frustrating and freeing. Frustrating because I could see how I'd blended in with people who didn't have my depth, and freeing because I finally understood that I didn't have to play the same game anymore. The online world is full of experts who all sound the same. They're following the same blueprints, using the same phrasing, offering the same freebies, all recycled from someone else's outdated strategy. They think sameness equals safety, but it actually equals invisibility. You don't rise by being an echo, you rise by being unmistakable. That's what presence does. Presence is your market advantage. not your credentials, not your certifications, not your clever branding. Your presence is what makes your message land in a way no one else can replicate. Because here's the thing, presence isn't a filter you apply, it's an energy you embody. When your brand, your words, your delivery all align, people don't just see you, they feel you. And that's when you become a category of one. AI actually magnifies this when it's done right. Not the robotic copy paste version of AI everyone's using, but the soulful AI version where you train your actual voice, your phrasing, your worldview. Then it becomes a mirror that reflects your uniqueness instead of muting it. It amplifies your message instead of diluting it. That's the magic of alignment, when your systems, your strategy, and your soul are saying the same thing. I see it all the time with clients. They come in thinking they need more content or better funnels, but what they really need is command. Command of their message, command of their market position, command of how they show up. Because once you have that, you don't compete, you lead. That's what a category one energy looks like: quiet, confident, unbothered by comparison. It's the kind of presence that makes people stop asking, why should I hire you? And start thinking, how do I get in your world? Experts explain, categories of one embody, presence is the separator, always has been, always will be. Sustainable systems versus overextending yourself. When I look back at the years I spent building this business, the pattern is so clear now. I said yes to everything. Every podcast invitation, every collaboration, every new idea that crossed my mind at midnight. If someone wanted to interview me, I said yes. If a client wanted to add just one more thing to their package, I said yes. If I had an idea for a new content, free or paid, I built it. And on paper, it looked impressive. So much value, so many touch points, so much momentum. But looking back, it really was an overextension dressed up as excellence. I was doing too much of all the right things, constantly thinking about the business, always learning something new, but never letting myself just be. If I wasn't studying another marketing strategy, I was deep in another personal development book. And I told myself that was growth. But growth without margin isn't growth, it's erosion. The truth is, I didn't need another strategy. I needed systems that could carry what I'd already built. It didn't hit me all at once. The kind that creeps in when you realize you can't remember the last time you read something just for fun or took a walk without tuning into content. And then one day, it was like a flash of clarity. This can't be what freedom feels like. That's when Soulful AI came into the picture, not as another shiny tool, but as a moment of truth. I realized I could use technology to protect my presence instead of replace it, to hold the repetitive parts of business so my energy could finally breathe again. Now, here's the thing no one tells you: systems alone won't save you. They have to be sustainable. They have to fit your actual rhythm, not force you into somebody else's productivity template. For me, that meant tightening my entire tech stack, not just picking tools that worked, but tools that felt good to use. Because user experience matters for your clients and for you. When your systems feel intuitive and seamless, your creativity expands instead of contracts. It's the difference between tech that drains you and tech that's quietly powering everything behind the scenes. That's why I built my curated resources and tools page, because sustainable business isn't about having the most tools. It's about having the right ones that support your presence, protect your time, and simplify your growth. The longer I've done this work, the clearer it's become. Overextension doesn't just burn you out, it blinds you. You start to lose sight of what actually moves the needle because everything feels urgent. And when everything's urgent, nothing is impactful. Sustainability is the new strategy. It's what lets you work, live, and breathe beyond your personal capacity. It's what allows your ideas to compound instead of collapse. Because here's the truth: freedom isn't found in more hours, it's found in stronger systems. And the moment you decide to build them around your energy instead of your ego, everything changes. That's what Soulful AI did for me. It gave me breathing room to create from alignment, not adrenaline. It let me protect the most valuable resource in my business, me. So if you're feeling stretched thin, this is your invitation to stop asking how you can do more and start asking how your systems can help you do less better. Because sustainability isn't the opposite of success, it's what makes success last. When something stops fitting, forcing it isn't discipline, it's denial. If this episode felt quieter than expected, that's intentional. This season isn't about spectacle, it's about precision. If you want to stay connected as the series continues, you'll find everything unfolding inside my private community, Circle by Erica Duran. Details are in the show notes. Never settle. Thank you for tuning in to Paid for Your Presence, powered by Soulful AI. Join me inside Circle by Erica Duran, a private network where entrepreneurs connect for strategy, referrals, and collaboration, and where connection naturally turns into opportunity. Because presence isn't about being everywhere, it's about being unmistakable where it matters. Never settle.